All right, P5. What does solution of an equation mean? When someone says find a solution, what are they talking about? When someone says find a solution, solve it. Solve it means what? What do they actually want you to do?
Figure it out.
Yeah, figure out what?
The answer. What?
Yes, figure out the answer.
Calculate.
Yes, I guess what I'm saying is like, what are you solving for?
X.
Yes, you're solving for X. Why not Y? Okay, so solve it means you're trying to find X, right? Well, what does it mean by solving for X? You're basically finding the X-intercept. So X-intercept means where the graph crosses what? X-axis. X-intercept is where the point crosses the X-axis. Or it's basically where it makes Y 0. Okay, what's another way of saying the solution or the X-intercept? We kind of talked about few words last year. Like when you see this, you're like, oh, make it equal to 0 and solve.
Root.
Huh? Root? Yes. Root. So someone says find the root. That means find it when y is equal to 0.
Find the zeros.
Yes, find the zeros. Okay, these are all words that mean find the x-intercept or solve this question. Okay. This one. Find the solution. Find the solution means what? Not in decimals. Sorry. You don't need to do this in decimals. It's very easy. Find the solution means what? Solve it. So make what? make the equation equal to 0. So basically make y equal to 0 and then you're solving, right? So then x is equal to 5 over 2, which means the line, if you graph the line, it's going to cross 5 over 2. Okay, is this problem linear or nonlinear? Ooh, we have like this side that talks and then, huh? Linear. Okay. So, yes. All right, so we talked about linear for about 2 days. Huh? Now we're going to do quadratic. What does quadratic mean?
X squared.
X squared, yeah, so the degree is 2. So basically we're going to go into nonlinear. So things that are not actually lines, meaning it's going to have some curves. Okay, let's just go straight into the problem. Solve this equation by, let's say we start with factoring. Factoring, how do we solve this? A and C, okay, you guys remember how to do this? Yes. Yes, okay, so go ahead and try to factor. If you don't remember how to factor, what we said was if the leading coefficient is not 1, it's a little bit tricky. You multiply A and C together, which gives you -4. And then you're trying to find two numbers that multiply together to get -4. When you add them, you get that middle number, which is -3. And then you kind of go from there depending on what your teacher taught you, like the diamond way or the magic X, things like that. Whatever your teacher taught you before, do that. If you don't remember, then ask me. I will help you with another way. Okay, here's what we do. So you multiply A and C together, which gets you -4. So you know you're looking for two numbers that multiply together to get -4. When you add them, you get -3. Okay, -3 is the number in the middle. You have to add them and get the number in the middle. Okay, let's look at our possible choices. What numbers multiply together to get -4? -4 and 1, -2 and 2, or 4 and -1. Which ones do you add, or which pair, when you add them together, you get -3? -4 plus 1. So you're looking for this number in the middle. Okay, so that's -4 and 1. All right, so here's, okay, everybody does this differently. I taught you something last year. I'll probably do the same thing again. Mr. Carpenter taught me something. I was like, oh, that's ingenious. So then I was like, oh, from now on, I will tell my Algebra 2 students this way, but you can do it any way you want. Okay, so basically last year I said, we are temporarily changing this question so that it's x squared minus 3x minus 4, right? Do you guys remember this? And then we're just basically doing factoring of that transformed trinomial. So this is going to be x minus 4 because we said this is the only one that works. And then x plus 1. Right? Yes. But that's not the answer because we actually did multiply a and c together. So we have to divide out that a that we multiplied. Do you guys still recall?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then I said, if it's simplifiable or you can simplify it, then you simplify it. If you cannot simplify it, then bring this number to the front. That's 2x plus 1. And then that's equal to 0. Which means each factor has to equal 0. Oops. So x is equal to 2 or x is equal to minus 1 over 2. So this is what I taught you last year. If this way was very confusing for you, let me try Mr. Carpenter's way. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Okay, so it's kind of the same idea, but a little bit different. So 2x minus 3x minus 2 equal to 0. So again, we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to get negative 4. When you add them, you get negative 3, which we said was minus 4 and 1. So instead of changing the trinomial, we are just going to split up this negative 3x into a minus 4x and plus x.
Oh, I know.
And then we're going to do grouping. Okay, so whichever way is easier for you to understand. And then you're going to factor out the greatest common factor. So in this case, 2x. So you have x minus 2. This part, there's nothing. And then you factor out whatever is same. From this term and this term, the same factor is x minus 2. So you take out the x minus 2. And then you're left with 2x plus 1. Okay, essentially you get to the same answer, but it's just a different way of doing it. Whichever way you can remember and consistently do, please just continue doing that. Because by next year, you have to remember how to factor every type of factoring. Okay, so x is equal to 2 or minus 1/2. Okay, that's the first way. Let's review completing the square, which nobody remembers.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's just so odd.
Yeah, it is pretty tricky. Completing the square. What should we do?
Complete the square.
Yeah, we need to complete the square. That's true. How do we do it?
I forgot what I just know that it was something.
We said x is on one side, number on the other side.
So plus 2.
Yeah? That's how we start. And then what? Besides Aaron, does anybody else remember?
Is it like b over 2 squared?
Yes, before that,
Could you multiply x out?
you have to do something with the leading coefficient. Yes, take the 2 out.
Yeah.
Because we don't want a leading coefficient there, so we're going to take that out. So that's going to be 3 over 2. And then what? Yes, so we need a magic number.
Oh,
What goes on the other side, though, with the magic number?
you have to change it like you have to times 2 and then move that to the right.
Okay, so how many people kind of remember? Okay, all right, I like kind of remember. Kind of remember is not too bad. Okay, so on this side, you added a magic number, so on the other side, you had to do what? Add it as well, because you have to be balanced, right? But on this side, how many magic numbers did you add? 2. So on this side, you have to do what? Add 2 magic numbers. So you had to add 2 box. Now the question is what goes inside the box? So McKenna said,
B over 2 squared.
yeah, b over 2 squared. What's b though?
-3/2.
Yeah, -3/2. So it's -3/2 squared. Okay, you're going to try to do this in your head. You are basically combining these two denominators into one denominator. So this is going to be -3/4 squared, which is 9/16. So 9/16 goes inside the box. Okay, now we need to factor and solve this. What does this factor to? That's kind of crazy, right? There's a big fraction in there. But I said the trick is, it is always b over 2. It will always factor to b over 2 because you kind of forced it to be that way. So it's always going to be whatever b over 2 is. In this case, it's -3/4. On the right-hand side, you have no choice but to simplify those numbers together. That simplifies to a 9/8. So 9/8 plus 2. Hopefully you can change that to an improper fraction really quickly. No? Yes? 25/8. Now what? We gotta solve.
How do you go from the first to 2 times x minus 3/4 squared?
So when you factor this trinomial, it's very hard to factor, but the factor is always going to be b over 2. Because this is a complete square, and because we forced it to be a complete square, and then so this is what's going to complete the square.
So you just take the leading coefficient and then x minus the...
Oh yeah, we were basically dividing everything by 2. Okay, what's next? How do we solve this? Divide by 2. 25/8/2. That is 25/16. Now what? Square root. X minus 3/4 equals 5/4. Is that right? Plus minus. Okay, every time you square root, plus minus. Please make sure you do that. Okay, last thing you're going to do is add the 3/4 over. 3/4 plus minus 5/4. Please don't leave it like that. Those are actually numbers you can simplify. There is no square root in there. You need to simplify them. So if it's a 3/4 plus 5/4, that's 8/4, so that's 2. 3/4 minus 5/4, that is -2/4, which is -1/2. Okay, so this is how you do it with completing this way. Very complicated. The last technique we learned last year, or we reviewed last year, was quadratic formula. How many people remember the quadratic formula? Okay, all right, good. All right, quadratic formula. So that is a formula to solve x. So x is equal to what?
-b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
Good.
Why don't you say
All over 2a. So which part is ABC? A in this case is what? 2, and then B is -3, and then C is -2. Good. So make sure that you have the trinomial in the correct order before you start finding ABC. Sometimes they put it in the wrong order. Please don't just pick whatever's first, second, and third. That's not correct. Okay, use the quadratic formula to solve. You should get the same answer no matter which method you use. Okay, so using quadratic formula, you should still get the same numbers as before. 2 and -1/2. So if you have not started on the next one, go ahead and start on the next one. Hopefully, you tried a few things and you realize that you cannot factor. So it's not factorable. When you cannot factor, then that tells you that your answer is not going to be a nice number. So it might be imaginary, might be square roots, but you're not going to get some integer or fraction. So you have to do complete the square and the quadratic formula. Okay, no matter which method you did, you should end up with 5/2 plus minus square root 2, or you left it alone in a big fraction. It looks like that. Okay, if you still cannot complete the square, please come ask me. I will give you tons of questions until you get completing the square.
Isn't it 5 plus or minus square root 2 over 2? Or is it?
No, this is correct. If you got the first answer right, to get it into one fraction, you just multiply by 2/2. That way you can add them together. All right, let's solve a question using our calculator. Okay, x cubed minus x minus 1 equals 0. Can you solve this by factoring? Can you solve it by factoring? It's not a trick question? No. Okay, nothing we know about factoring will work. You can try P/Q if you want. It actually does not work. So what you're going to do is you're going to use your graphing calculator. So everyone, please take out your graphing calculator. I'm going to tell you how to graph. First, know how to turn it on. Turning it on is on the bottom. What you're going to do is you're going to go to y equals, which is on the top left-hand corner. So press that button. It's going to have a y1 equals. So this is where you're going to type in your equation. All your variables is stuck in this button. It says x, t, theta, n. Okay, that's your variable button. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in that cubed. Cubed is this button. This is the caret. So if you press that button, it will create a exponent, and then you're going to type in 3, so x cubed. The new calculators will just say x cubed. And then you're going to scroll over to the right, so you're not in the exponent position anymore, and then minus x minus 1. Okay? And then you're going to click either trace or graph. That will give you the graph.
Wait, can you show me where the y?
Top left. Very top left button. Oh, you have a Casio, so I don't know how to use that calculator. We're all using TI. You're going to have to check your manual. Yeah. Okay, now what are we looking for when we're solving the problem? We said it at the beginning of the class, so what are we looking for when we solve a problem? Zeros. How does it show up on the graph? X-intercept. We're looking for the x-intercept, right? So how many x-intercept does it look like it has? 1. So we have to figure out where that crosses the x, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to have the calculator calculate that for you. This is a little tricky. You're going to press the second button. Second button should be the top left, right underneath y equals. So that is either blue or yellow, depending on your calculator. When you press that button, it accesses all of the words that are in blue. So you're now going to go to the button that says trace, but because on top of trace it says calc, you're actually doing calculation. So second trace. Okay? Now you're going to basically ask your calculator, find my zeros. So you're going to go to 0. So that's the second one. So go to 0. And now it's going to go back to the graph. It's going to ask you, what is the lower bound or the left bound? So basically, what's on the left of your 0? Which part is the left of your 0? That's the question. So what you're going to do is you're going to scroll over. When you move your cursor, there's a little X that moves. You're going to be a little bit just to the left of the 0 and then press enter. And then you'll see a little bit of and then you'll see this little arrow that tells you, that tells the calculator, this is the left. And then, yeah? No? Yes? So you did it? Right? Like on the left, you're a little bit to the left, and then press enter. Now you have a little. Yeah. Okay, and then now you're going to scroll to the right, so you're right on top, and then click. That's the right bound, and then click enter. So basically, you're saying my 0 is stuck in between. And then it's going to ask you to guess. Just press enter again. And it's going to say x is equal to 1.324718.